asked ChatGPT what I should review next, and the top two choices were Call of Duty Black Ops and Sonic Unleashed. Ever since then, I kept coming back to Black Ops. Part of it is timing. Lately I've been in the mood for AAA style experiences. I've also found myself enjoying first-person shooters more than usual, but more importantly, there's an emotional connection here. Back in middle school, my friends were always talking about Call of Duty, whether it was multiplayer matches, zombies, or whatever entry happened to be current at the time. Call of Duty felt unavoidable. Even though I wasn't playing the games myself, they were always in the background of conversations. So while I could have made a poll and let viewers decide between this and Sonic Unleashed, I wanted to review the game that genuinely interested me the most. I've always believed reviews are at their best when they come from genuine curiosity rather than obligation. When someone reviews a game because they genuinely want to talk about it, that passion usually comes through in the final product. That's exactly how I approached Black Ops. So after finally sitting down and experiencing one of the most beloved entries in the franchise for myself, was it worth the hype? Let's find out. At its core, Call of Duty Black Ops is a very straightforward shooter. You move, you shoot, you crouch, you throw grenades, you take cover, and honestly, that's part of its strength. Modern games often feel like they're trying to overwhelm players with systems, mechanics, crafting trees, upgrade menus, and dozens of other features competing for your attention. Black Ops doesn't really do that. The game understands exactly what it wants to be and focuses on executing that vision well. What impressed me wasn't necessarily the mechanics themselves, but the way the game constantly found new situations to put me in. One mission has you fighting through enemy territory with a standard rifle. Another has you navigating an area filled with deadly Nova 6 gas while wearing a gas mask. Then you're controlling vehicles. Then you're manning turrets. Then you're involved in large-scale military operations. The mechanics remain familiar throughout most of the campaign, but the situations surrounding them are constantly changing. That variety goes a long way toward keeping the experience engaging. There were a few moments where I got stuck. The helicopter sections in particular confused me more than they probably should have. For the longest time, I was trying to destroy enemy helicopters using heavier ammunition because I assumed that was the logical choice. Apparently not. The regular weapons were what I was supposed to be using all along. Once I realized that, those sections became significantly easier. But honestly, I don't hold that against the game too much. Sometimes a game clicks the moment you understand what it's asking from you. Black Ops had a few moments like that. What surprised me most was how little I minded the linearity. This is not an open world game. You aren't choosing different paths. You aren't exploring huge maps. The campaign is incredibly focused, and because of that focus, the pacing rarely drags. Every level feels designed to keep pushing you forward toward the next set piece, the next firefight, or the next story revelation. If there's one thing that stood out to me more than anything else, it's the atmosphere. Black Ops has a unique identity. From the Cold War setting to the darker presentation, it immediately feels different from what I expected. The menu music alone does a lot of heavy lifting. There's this unsettling feeling throughout the entire game. Something always feels slightly off. The interrogation scenes, the mystery surrounding the numbers, the uncertainty about what's real and what isn't, Even before the major plot twists begin to reveal themselves, the game does a great job building tension. A lot of shooters are content with simply moving the player from one explosion to the next. Black Ops actually tries to create intrigue. It wants you asking questions. It wants you wondering what's happening. And because of that, I found myself becoming more invested as the story progressed. Now, let's talk about the story itself. I enjoyed it. Quite a bit, actually. The plot twists were effective, the mystery kept me engaged, and by the end of the campaign, I was glad I experienced it. That said, I wouldn't personally put it among the greatest stories I've ever experienced. Some people talk about Black Ops as if it completely rewrites your understanding of storytelling in video games. For me, it didn't quite reach that level. The twists worked, the narrative was memorable, but it didn't leave me staring at the screen, questioning reality in the same way something like Inception or Interstellar did. Then again, that's an incredibly high standard. Not every story needs to redefine storytelling to be successful. Sometimes it's enough to simply be entertaining and memorable. Black Ops absolutely succeeds in that regard. After finishing the game, I think I understand why people still talk about Black Ops all these years later. It's not just nostalgia. Nostalgia is definitely part of it, but there's something more. The game feels confident. Every aspect of the experience feels like the developers knew exactly what kind of game they wanted to make. The campaign has a clear identity. The atmosphere has a clear identity. Even as someone coming into the franchise relatively late, I could tell this wasn't just another military shooter trying to follow trends. Black Ops feels like a game that wanted to stand out, and in many ways it succeeded. What surprised me most wasn't that Black Ops was good. It was how well it held my attention. 15 years later, the atmosphere is still memorable, the campaign is still engaging, and despite being a fairly straightforward shooter, it constantly finds way to keep things interesting. As someone experiencing Black Ops for the first time, I can finally understand why people still talk about it. Not because it's perfect, not because it's the most mind-blowing story ever told, but because it has a strong identity. When I think back on the campaign, I don't just remember shooting enemies, I remember the numbers, the interrogation scenes, the Nova 6 missions, the feeling that something wasn't quite right. That's what sticks with me. Call of Duty Black Ops gets a strong 8.5 out of 10 from me, and for my first real Call of Duty experience, I'd say that's a pretty great start.